All right, my babies. I hope this is a good angle. I'm not sure. But hey, today's video is the difference between worthy and worth it. Super cool. Uh, Fuck me, man. I'm gonna keep saying this. Maybe I shouldn't. But 6 months is a long time to look at your thoughts. So let's start with technicalities. What is worth it? Is worth going for, I guess, worth spending time on. Worthy, I think, would be worthy of the time spent on. So I think worth it is more directional, whilst worthy is a lot. It was a bit more. Uh, uh, I don't know. I'm feeling welcoming. I'm feeling like the welcoming. So okay. So ideally, naturally, when I write this stuff, is because I am considering my own state, and I'm looking and go like, am I worthy or am I worth it? And funny enough, I think worthy is very subjective, but worth it is based on value, or at the very least, worth it is based on what you're getting out of it, whilst worthy is based on existence. Why the fuck not? Let's go with that and see how that turns out. Something that's worthy, technically, it's worthy of your energy, worthy of your attention, worthy of your time, worthy of you spending money on it, and stuff like this. Well, if something is worth it, that means it fits. So I think worthy is the subjective one, and worth it is the objective one, because you're objectively looking at something and declaring worth. Whilst when it comes to worthy, you're not declaring, you're accepting that it's deserving of worth. So funny enough, because like naturally this context is us, am I worthy or am I worth it? We're not really reflecting on how we see ourselves, but we're gauging how we see ourselves using these words, right? Like for me, when I'm asking if I'm worthy, I can't find an answer. But when I'm asking if I'm worth it, I can logically come to an answer. Because ultimately, if you look at me and you go like, uh, is it worth it to basically trust you with something? And I am able to look at myself and be like, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I can accomplish, uh, this is what I will be working on, this is what I will be learning, and logically you can kind of like dissect the different parts of you that are normally just like are compartmentalized differently and isolate them under one scope that allows you to rationally, reasonably just say yes or no. And maybe that's an off way of looking at things, but ultimately that's so a therapist once told me, because I looked at her and I was telling her, like, I remember stuff based on my timeline. And for me, that wasn't weird. That was just like a unique trait that I had. Like, if you tell me, like, if I am to remember something, it literally goes in my head. It goes like 2013, 2017. I was doing this 2012. I kind of like isolate the scope. And then from there, I dive into basically the different months because then I go like, oh, 2012, I was doing this. So 2012, I was doing this. This is a major point in 2012, before 2012. Well, from her perspective, she was like normal people remember stuff based on memory, based on emotions. And so their memory is connected from an emotional setup. And it's feeling the same way. Anytime we attach logic to it, to something, it's when we're void of that emotion, right? That feeling, that lingering sensation that kind of sticks with you anytime something comes up. normally what we hold on to, I mean, the more logical you are or reasonable you are, the more the emotions that you feel are not really like, are more traumatic, and you resolve those kinds of emotions through reason, logic, and understanding. Whilst if your emotions were like positive emotions and all over the place emotions like yay, happiness, or yay, like energy, or yay, excitement, or something like this, there's a higher chance you were taken in a flow that you liked. So your presence is a bit more than normal, but your uh, intent would probably be lacking, because ultimately, like, good days kind of like pass on their own, but bad days, you literally just remember every part of it. And again, like, and I don't know if I'm digressing or I'm still at the point, but the idea is like, when something is worth it, you're approaching it logically. When something is worthy, you're subjectively looking at it as value in its own. And I think that's when negotiation falters, because ultimately, the more worthy you see something, it's just literally like a grandfather looking at his grandkid and spoiling them, versus looking at his children and not being able to express their emotion, I guess, because with their grandkids, it's a lot purer, but with their actual children, they were there when they were raising them. So there's a systematic approach, right? Maybe that was a bit off. But okay, so imagine that. Why would a grandfather spoil his grandkids and not a total stranger? Because, like, for him, these little tykes are basically, they hold a lot more value. They're the result of, they're the expression of love for him. The minute they see them, everything changes, and it's just kind of like that setup. But when it comes to other people, like, I know personally, because like if I talk to my dad about like the business and what I'm trying to do, effectively the first thing he goes like, "Do you need anything?" And he jumps to support mode, because for him I'm worthy. But when I'm talking to him about philosophy or something like this, he kind of like isolates himself, and then in a way it becomes is a systematic approach to get to know me. So I'm worth having that conversation with, but I am worthy of anything he has to offer, right? That's basically like the segmentation that I'm choosing. So I'm seeing a big difference between worthy and worth it, but ultimately, is that difference relevant? Like, if somebody says you're worth it, that means there's something that they're kind of giving up for you. But if somebody says you're worthy, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give up anything for you. But in a way, that's because they believe you're able to get it without them, maybe, or you being worthy truly means have all their trust in you, and not really having their trust in what they can contribute to you. Could that be a reflection on yourself as well? So my cats are worthy of my attention, but all cats, all animals are worthy of my attention. I fucking love them, but I don't feel the same way about people. And I don't necessarily look at people from a worth it perspective, because again, like, it's a reasonable approach. So ultimately, having a relationship with somebody, it's not worth, not having a relationship or not having a relationship with somebody. That's what, if you're worth it or not worth it. But whether somebody's worthy or not has probably nothing to do with you. Kind of like when you respect somebody, like, he's worthy of respect, but not necessarily worth having a conversation with. Like, you respect them for who they are, but you don't really like who they are, but you still respect them for who they are. There are these people that you kind of look at and be like, what the fuck is on your mind? But props to you, man. You seem to know what you're thinking about and how you're approaching things. Does it matter if somebody considers worthy versus worth it? At one point, it mattered to me. And right now, I'm looking at it and be like, no. You have to find your way in both of them. Because now, like, I'm judging by 6 months from now when I wrote this till now. You questioning whether you're worthy or not brings you closer to worthiness. And you questioning whether you're worth it or not makes you more, gives you, adds more worth to you. Worth, worth to you. So effectively, every day I consider myself from a worthy perspective. I become more worthy, or at the very least, more aware of my worthiness. What I do with it basically comes back to me. But whether I'm worth it or not is also its own like game, its own approach. Because ultimately, it's the transaction that you create value from that heightens your worth. Who the fuck knows, man? Literally, these are videos that I wrote way back. I probably would have done them differently back then. But I'm loving this because, like, you really get to look at what my mind was considering back in the day and what are the things that were on the top of my head. But as always, it's a fucking video. Love you guys.